You ever notice the people who get the most offended by jokes are the ones who claim to have the happiest afterlife waiting for them? Think about that. They've got eternal paradise lined up, clouds and harps, milk and honey, front row seats with the angels, and yet they can't take a laugh. If you really believed you had a golden condo waiting for you in the clouds, you'd be walking around grinning like an idiot all day. But no, they scowl, they whine, they write letters. They act like God himself is sitting on the throne, red in the face, saying, "How dare he make fun of me?" What kind of supreme being is that? If your God can't handle a joke, maybe he's not cut out for management. And that's the thing, humor shows you what's really going on. You strip away all the robes, the stained glass, the incense, the Latin chanting, and what do you got? A business model? You got a sales pitch. You got fear and exclusivity dressed up in holy clothes. That's why they hate jokes. Jokes blow the cover. Jokes walk into the boardroom, kick over the charts, and say, "Hey, this is bullshit." That's why they tell you humor is dangerous. Of course it's dangerous. It's the only tool the powerless have to point out the nonsense the powerful are selling. And look, people will tell you, well, you shouldn't mock people's beliefs. Beliefs are sacred. Sacred to who? To them, not to me. To me, they're just stories, old stories. Stories somebody told around a campfire a few thousand years ago, and then somebody else decided, hey, this story should be law. And you can't question it. You can't laugh at it. You can't even make a face at it without somebody jumping up, waving their arms, screaming blasphemy. Well, if your story falls apart because somebody laughed at it, maybe it wasn't that strong to begin with. And you know what's funny? The same people who tell you laughter is unholy, they laugh all the time. They laugh at dirty jokes at the bar. They laugh when somebody slips on the ice. They laugh when the dog farts. But you bring up the church, suddenly it's a whoa, hey, show some respect. Respect for what? Respect for the giant man in the sky with the book of rules? Respect for the organization that's been skimming 10% off the top for centuries? Respect for the invisible membership card that gets you into the gated community? No thanks. Respect is earned. If you're selling paradise and eternal joy, you better be ready to handle a couple of jokes about your customer service. And that's all comedy really is, a way of looking at the world sideways. Everybody else looks straight ahead, takes it all at face value. Comedy looks from the side, tilts its head, says, "Oh, wait a second, this doesn't make sense." Like the idea that heaven is rules. Rules, think about that. You're dead. Your body's in the ground, worms are eating your eyeballs, and somehow you're still bound by regulations. What kind of freedom is that? Oh, we love you, child, but we've got some conditions. Here's your heart, here's your wings, here's your list of prohibited activities. And the joke is, people swallow it. They don't just swallow it, they defend it. They'll fight you over it. You make fun of the harp, they act like you pissed on their grandma's grave. But the truth is, laughter is the one thing that actually frees you from all that nonsense. You laugh at the absurdity, suddenly the fear doesn't work anymore. That's what they really hate. They don't hate the joke, they hate the freedom, because the whole system runs on fear. Fear of punishment, fear of hell, fear of not being good enough. You're on a leash your whole life, terrified you'll step out of line. Then somebody makes a joke, and for a moment, you see the leash. You see the collar. You see the guy holding it. You laugh because it's ridiculous that you ever took it seriously. That's the danger of humor. It breaks the spell. And look, it's not just religion. Governments hate jokes too. Bosses hate jokes. Anybody in charge hates jokes because jokes flatten the hierarchy. You can be a king, a pope, a general, a CEO. Somebody makes the right joke at the right time. And suddenly you're just another schmuck with your pants around your ankles. That's why in the old days, kings had jesters. You think they had them for entertainment? No, they had them because even kings knew. Without someone to poke fun, the whole system rots. The jester was the only guy allowed to say, "Hey, your majesty, you're full of shit." And everyone laughed because it was true. But then you take that same spirit and put it in the church, and suddenly it's a no. No, we can't joke about the Lord. Why not? If he's almighty, he can take it. If he's really perfect, he doesn't need you defending his ego. You think the guy who built the stars and galaxies is sitting up there going, "Oh no, they mocked my harp policy"? Get real. And besides, if heaven's supposed to be joy, laughter should be the national anthem. You think joy is sitting quietly, hands folded, no jokes allowed? No. That's not joy, that's detention. Real joy makes you laugh until you're wheezing. Real joy makes you spit wine out of your nose. Real joy doesn't need a rule book. It's messy, it's loud, it's ridiculous. But they can't sell you that because it's free. It doesn't require a priest. It doesn't require a tie. It doesn't require a holy text. It just requires you being human. And they hate that because there's no profit in it. The funny thing is, most of the contradictions in religion are hilarious if you let yourself look at them. Eternal paradise with rules. All-loving God who tortures people forever. Infinite mercy with limited membership. It's comedy gold, but people are too scared to laugh. They nod, they pray, they pretend it all makes sense, but deep down, you know they've thought the same thing. They've sat in church, heard some guy in robes say, "Oh, the Lord loves you unconditionally, but if you don't follow the conditions, you're screwed." And they thought, "Oh, that doesn't sound right." But they bite their tongue, because laughter would give it away. That's why comedians, or anyone with the guts to joke about this stuff, are treated like heretics. Not because the jokes are cruel, but because they're true. You ever notice the best jokes are just truths people don't want to say out loud? That's what makes them sting. People don't get mad at lies. They get mad when you laugh at truths they've been avoiding. That's the whole trick. You laugh and suddenly the emperor is naked. Suddenly the gates of heaven look like what they really are. Cheap plywood and a velvet rope. And maybe that's the real point. Maybe laughter is salvation. Not the kind they preach about, not the kind where you fill out forms and memorize prayers, but the kind where you stop being afraid. Because once you can laugh at death, at judgment, at heaven and hell, they've got nothing on you, no leash, no collar, no control. You're free. That's what joy looks like. Not clouds and harps, not rules and paperwork, just the simple freedom to laugh at the absurdity of it all. And if that kind of joy gets me kicked out of the gated community in the sky, oh, I'll be laughing on the way down. You think St. Francis is going to share a cul-de-sac with your Uncle Lou who cheated on his taxes but said a Hail Mary on his deathbed? Forget it. They're not even zoning that. Heaven's probably got subdivisions. Welcome to St. Estates, a luxury community for martyrs, apostles, and popes. No sinners allowed beyond this point. Please show your ID. Then down the road, a cloudside villa's affordable living for those who barely made it in. Pool and laundry facilities included, harp lessons extra. And you know there's a bad side of heaven too, the part where the angels don't patrol at night. And while we're at it, who the hell designed this place? Clouds, really? For eternity? You'd think with omnipotence and infinite imagination you could come up with something better than wet cotton. And harps? Forever? I can't listen to 5 minutes of harp music without wanting to drive a knitting needle into my ear. Imagine forever. That's not paradise, that's Muzak with wings. But hey, that's what you get when you're in a gated community. They decide what's classy and you just nod along. Oh yes, beautiful harp, lovely harp. You don't clap too loud though, the angels might evict you. And don't get me started on the pearly gates. Pearly gates. It's not a church, it's not a temple, it's not even a cathedral. It's a damn jewelry store. A pearly gates, who the hell needs pearls? What are they keeping out, oysters? Imagine the message that sends, "Welcome to eternal bliss, please admire our gaudy entrance." It's like driving up to Vegas. You half expect Elvis to be at the gate, shaking your hand, going, "Welcome, thank you very much." Now, if heaven's really that selective, you gotta wonder, what's the criteria? They never make it clear. Some say faith, some say works, some say both. Some say baptism, some say baptism by the right people. Some say you gotta belong to the right club, wear the right underwear, eat the right crackers. It's like trying to get into the hottest nightclub, but every bouncer has a different rule. You show up at one door, they tell you your name's not on the list. You try another, they say you're dressed wrong. You go around back and the guy says, "Sorry, this is for members only." You finally sneak in through the kitchen and guess what? You're in hell. That's the setup. It's a cosmic bait and switch. And all the while, they're telling you how wonderful it is inside. Rivers of milk and honey. Oh yeah, that's what I want, milk and honey in the hot sun. Real refreshing. Ever left a glass of milk out for a few hours? That's heaven for ya. Sour milk, bees everywhere, not my idea of paradise. And the whole eternity thing. Forever. You ever think about how long forever is? You can't. Nobody can. Your brain shuts down. But imagine you're in heaven, it's year number 40,000. You've already met everyone. You've played every harp song. You've looked at every cloud. What do you do next? Well, I guess I'll go stare at more angels. That's not heaven, that's solitary confinement with good lighting. Meanwhile, they tell you hell is crowded. Packed. Wall-to-wall sinners, shoulder to shoulder, every scumbag who ever lived. And you know what that sounds like, a party. Yeah, it's hot, but at least it's lively. All the good music's there, all the comedians, all the rock bands, all the interesting people who actually did something in life instead of sitting quietly in church every Sunday. You think heaven's got jazz? No, heaven's got hymns, forever. You're telling me Mozart, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, they're not upstairs? Then count me out. I'll take the basement. And the way people pray for heaven like it's a prize. Oh, Lord, let me in. It's not a prize, it's a timeshare. Would you like to spend eternity in our luxury clouds? Just sign here. No refunds. Early termination fee applies. And the sales pitch never ends. You die and you're still hustling to get in. Imagine standing at the gate, St. Peter looks at you, and you're sweating bullets like you're applying for a mortgage. Ah, yes, sir, I always believe, sir. I attended the meetings, I donated, I was very devout, sir. And Pete's just shaking his head like a bank manager. Be sorry, son, you missed one Sunday in 1983. Denied. It's amazing how people buy into this idea. They'll dedicate their whole life to qualifying for a place they've never seen, can't describe, and have zero proof exists. If heaven were a product, it'd be fraud. Any other industry, you'd call the cops. Yes, officer. I gave this man 10% of my income for 40 years. He promised me an eternal condo in the clouds, and now he's dead. And the cop would say, yeah, that's fraud. Classic scam. But when religion does it, oh no, that's faith. Don't question it, don't laugh at it, don't even think about it. Just keep paying the dues and praying for a spot on the list. And if heaven's so wonderful, how come nobody rushes to get there? Think about it. If it's really eternal bliss, people should be lining up begging to go. But no, everyone wants to get in, but nobody wants to die to get there. It's the only exclusive club where the entry fee is your life, and everybody's trying to haggle for more time. Not yet, Lord, not yet. I've got things to do. Like what? Watch more reruns of Matlock? If you really believed heaven was as good as advertised, you'd be diving in head first. But deep down, even the most devout aren't sure. That's why they keep repeating it, louder and louder, hoping they can convince themselves. And I gotta say, the exclusivity is what really gives it away. You know why? Because any place worth being doesn't need to keep people out. You think joy has a capacity? You think love runs out of room? No. If there really was a paradise, everyone would be welcome. Everyone. But no, they turned it into a club. A club with velvet ropes and a smug maitre d' at the door. But sorry, we're at capacity. Fire code. You'll have to try downstairs. That's not paradise. That's Studio 54. With clouds, so maybe, just maybe, heaven isn't what they tell you. Maybe it's not a gated community with rules, dress codes, and bouncers. Maybe it's just an idea they sold you to keep you in line. Because when you think about it, doesn't it sound a little too much like life down here? Paperwork, authority figures, status symbols, neighborhoods, exclusivity. If heaven's just more of that, I'll pass. Because if eternity means kissing up to a cosmic homeowners association, I'd rather take my chances in the other place. At least down there, the gates are always open. You ever think about how much paperwork it must take to get into heaven? They make it sound like you're walking into paradise. But really, it feels like you're dealing with the world's slowest DMV. You die. You show up at the pearly gates, and suddenly you're standing in line, waiting for some guy with a beard and a clipboard to process your file. Now take a number. We'll call you when we're ready. It's the afterlife, but it runs like the post office. Except the post office at least delivers. These guys just shuffle your forms around for eternity. Think about it. If there are billions of souls showing up, what kind of system do they have? You think they've got computers up there? No. These are the same people who think the Earth is 6,000 years old. They're not running Windows, they're running stone tablets. Imagine the backlog. People been dying for thousands of years, all their records stacked up in some celestial filing cabinet. And every time you sin, that's another form. Jaywalked? Form. Lied on your taxes? Form. Touched yourself under the covers? Triplicate form, notarized. That's what eternity is. Paperwork. Heaven's not paradise. It's the world's biggest archive. And of course, there's always someone in charge. There's always a boss. They never just let you in. No, you gotta go through a chain of command. Now, St. Peter's at the front desk, like some burned-out secretary who's seen it all. He doesn't even look up anymore, just stamps your form and size. Behind him, there's a manager, then a supervisor, then a director, then a whole board of celestial trustees. You're not applying for eternity, you're applying for a bank loan. And the terms are terrible. Interest rates through the roof. They make it sound holy, but it's nothing but bureaucracy. Even the whole confession thing, what is that? That's paperwork. You go in, you admit your sins. The priest signs off, boom, stamped and filed. It's a clearance system. You've got to keep your record clean. One mistake, and suddenly you're flagged. Imagine the poor bastard who did everything right, and then right before he died, he swore at the nurse. Boom, disqualified. Because the paperwork didn't clear. He's in the system now. I'm sorry, sir, it says here you used foul language on December 14th, 1997 at 3:42 p.m. Regulations state we can't let you in without proper repentance. Regulations in the afterlife. This isn't heaven. It's the IRS with wings. And you know there's a waiting room. There's always a waiting room. Rows of plastic chairs, old magazines, a TV bolted to the wall playing some religious channel you can't change. The angels behind the counter keep telling you, we'll be with you shortly. Shortly! You've been dead for 3 centuries and they're still verifying your documents. They want your baptismal certificate, your confirmation record, your tithe receipts. It's like trying to get a mortgage after bankruptcy. And they tell you heaven is about love and forgiveness, but man, they've got rules. You can't just die and walk in. You need the right forms, the right witnesses, the right rituals. You need stamps of approval. You need credentials. Try getting in without credentials. Forget it. Even in eternity, it's all about who you know. Imagine showing up at the gate and they ask for ID. Sorry, sir, we don't have you in the system. Did you sign up for the rewards program? And think about the angels. They're basically clerks, middle management with wings. Their job isn't to play harps. They're auditors. They're going through every little thing you did in life, cross-checking it against the rule book. Every joke you told, every fart you blamed on the dog, every candy bar you stole in 1973. They've got it all. They're flipping through your files, shaking their heads. This one's borderline. Better send it to review. Review. There's a committee. Even in death, you can't get away from committees. Imagine eternity run by committee meetings that never end. All in favor of admitting this, soul, say aye. All opposed, say nay. That's not heaven, that's the school board. And what's with the appeal system? Oh yeah, you can appeal, you can argue your case. Isn't that weird? The creator of the universe knows everything you've ever done. But somehow you still get to plead your case, like you're in traffic court. You're standing in front of some celestial judge, sweating bullets, saying, look, I know I cheated on my wife, but it was only twice. And she never found out, so really, is it that bad? And the judge just strokes his beard and says, we'll deliberate. Deliberate? What is there to deliberate? You're God. You know everything. But no, they've got to make it official, file it, put it in the minutes. Because it's not paradise until you've gone through the proper channels. And the paperwork never ends. Even if you get in, you know there's got to be some kind of registration process. Heaven's not just going to let you wander around unsupervised. You've got to sign for your harp, register your wings, get a cloud assignment. You don't just pick any cloud you like. No, you're assigned. Yes, Mr. Smith, you'll be on cloud 243B, right next to the trumpet practice center. No, you can't trade. Yes, there's a form if you want to request a transfer. Processing time, 300 years. And you know they've got fines. They've always got fines. Play your harp too loud, fine. Halo crooked, Fine. Miss your scheduled hymn practice. Fine. Forget to polish your wings before inspection. Fine. Heaven isn't a reward, it's probation. You're on good behavior for eternity. And think about how silly this gets. They tell you, heaven is forever. Forever. That's a long time to keep track of rules. You think you're going to remember the dress code after 200,000 years? No, you're going to slip up. You're going to forget to tuck in your tunic one morning and suddenly you're on report. Eternity means never-ending performance reviews. Yes, you've been very pious, but we've noticed your enthusiasm has dropped off since year 400,000. That's a concern. The whole system is set up like a corporation. God's the CEO, angels are middle management, saints are senior executives, and you're just a low-level employee trying to keep your job. You clock in with prayers, you clock out with confession, and once a week you go to the meeting. You ever notice churches are basically offices? Pews lined up like cubicles, boss at the front giving the speech, everyone pretending to pay attention. And the promise is if you keep working hard, keep showing up, maybe one day you'll get promoted to the big office upstairs. Doesn't that sound familiar? Heaven isn't holy, it's corporate America. And let's not forget the surveillance. They say God sees everything, hears everything, knows everything. That's not comforting. That's the NSA with better equipment. You can't take a piss without them writing it down. Imagine your eternal record. On March 3rd, 1981, subject failed to wash hands after bathroom visit. That's on your file. For eternity. You can save 1,000 lives, but forget to tip the waitress, and that's what shows up on page 1. Because they don't forget. Ever. It's the ultimate permanent record. Remember in school when they said bad behavior would go on your permanent record? They weren't kidding. They meant forever. And you know they lose files, too. Bureaucracies always lose files. Imagine showing up at the gate and they can't find your record. I'm sorry, sir, we can't seem to locate your baptismal certificate. Could you come back in 1,000 years? And you're like, what the hell am I supposed to do until then? And they shrug, a purgatory, sir. Please take a seat. Purgatory, that's the waiting room. You're just stuck there, leafing through old magazines, waiting for some angel to find your paperwork. That's eternity for half the population, stuck in limbo while some celestial intern looks under the wrong file cabinet. And don't forget the bribes. Oh yeah, they don't call them bribes, but that's what tithes are. Pay up and maybe you get a better seat in the afterlife. Donate a new roof to the church, suddenly your file gets fast-tracked. Slip a priest a little extra in the collection plate. Boom, expedited processing. They've been selling indulgences for centuries. Indulgences? Imagine the audacity. Yes, you sinned, but for a small fee, we can make that go away. That's not salvation, that's the mob. Heaven's not a reward, it's protection money. Pay us now or you'll burn later. And the best part, no appeals once you're denied. Once they stamp you or rejected, that's it. You're out. You don't get to talk to the boss. You don't get to argue your case. Imagine applying for college, but the dean never reads your application. Just the janitor at the gate. That's your eternity, decided by some gatekeeper with a stamp. It all adds up to one thing. Heaven's not freedom, it's not joy, it's not love. It's red tape. Red tape wrapped around your soul. And the cruelest part is, they make you believe it's a privilege. They make you beg for it, work for it, sacrifice for it. And when you finally get there, surprise, it's the same old system. Just more lines, more forms, more approvals. Eternity is paperwork.